what's up, man? It's been a while since we've been able to do one of these.
I know. We said we're going to try to do them at least once a month. And are we at that pace?
No. Something always comes up. I mean, life happens. We've been really busy lately, as you know.
Yes.
Just turning and burning them with the buyers, trying to get them into houses. It's been fun.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to see the activity in the market pick up. That is for sure a positive development.
Yeah, so we've noticed a lot of interesting things happen in the market.
What are you noticing?
What's that?
What are you noticing?
Noticing, it's just become really a different competition for buyers this season. Last couple 3 years, it's been all Bay Area money coming up our way, cash.
Right.
And so there's no competing with a 10-day deal, it's over ask. And we're noticing a lot of different loans being able to compete. And it's just been interesting seeing a normalized market again.
Yeah, that is true. And you use the word normalized market, and I don't want to use the word normal because it doesn't seem normal yet, but it is at least a new normal. And I know that phrase has been used multiple times before, but we're in a completely different environment, Matt. If you look at, what's going on with the interest rates, because it's probably one of the top questions I get asked all the time, are the interest rates going to go up, are going to go down? And my answer is always, well, first of all, I do not have a crystal ball, and I am not, even the most advanced economists with fantastic models are often wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I always caveat with that. But what we have noticed in the last 6 months is that the interest rates are not going down. They seem to have at least gotten to a peak that makes everybody risk averse and everybody shy away, which is the 7% mark. 7, anything close to 7 or above 7 makes everybody go like, oh my gosh, what's going on, right? And shy away from it and step out of the market. So it seems to me that with all the changes that the Fed has implemented, all the increases in rates, it seems to be stabilizing around that 6 to 7% mark. Tends to be in that middle range between 6 and 6.5. Will it go down further? I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the big environment, if you look at the macro environment, right? Unfortunately, inflation's still high. It hasn't. It has improved a little bit, but it hasn't dramatically gone down. Our GDP is expected to be close to zero in the next few months, and people are still spending money, right? So it just doesn't make quite sense. The amount of money that people are spending doesn't commiserate with the fact that the wages are increasing, but not as fast. So inflation is here to stay. At least for the next few months, at least, I mean, we're in May. I don't see the interest rates having a significant change for the next few months and even maybe all the way to the end of the year. So I may be wrong, but that's what it seems like. So I always tell people always ask me the following question. Once I don't give them an exact answer about where the interest rates are going, they always ask me the next question, which is this a good time to buy? Of course. And that's such a personal question, Matt.
Yeah.
Right? That it's a personal question. Like, well, is it a good time for you to buy? Do you have a stable job? Do you feel your income is not going anywhere, or are you at risk of losing your job? If you are at risk of losing your job in the next year or 2 years, it's not a good time to buy.
Probably wait. Yeah.
If you feel stable where you are, if your industry is stable, if your family is stable, if you have the finances to sustain a monthly mortgage payment, even if it's a little bit higher than your rent, remember, when you have a mortgage, you're paying yourself, right? You're buying an asset. You're not wasting money and making somebody else rich. So if the answer is yes to those questions, then yes, it's the right time to buy.
Right.
You can always adjust the mortgage in the future. You can, if the rates go down, then you can refinance. But I don't know. That's kind of my current approach, my current thinking. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I love that you touched on, you're paying for an asset. You're investing in something when you're paying a mortgage.
Correct.
I mean, you figure what average rent in Yuba City is probably around 16 to 1800. So
Right.
at 1600 over a span of 12 months, it's like $19,200 that you're just flushing down the toilet.
Correct.
Whereas if it's the right time for you to buy and everything's stable and you're going to have, the same job for long term,
Right.
let's stop flushing that money down the toilet and let's actually put it into an asset that not only appreciates in value over time,
Correct.
but you're pumping that money into it to where your loan amount decreases every year. So
Correct.
Your equity is growing exponentially and not just disappearing. You're not just throwing it out the window and letting the landlord suck it all up.
Yeah, and another way to think about it, it's a little bit kind of it makes your brain twist a little bit when you think about it this way. But many first-time home buyers come to me and to my team here at Snapfi, and they ask the question. They say, I am spending $1,700 on rent. Can I buy a house and keep my monthly payment about the same? And it kind of makes sense, right? It's kind of basic math. I'm already paying $1,700. If I can buy a house with $1,700 a month, it makes sense.
Yeah.
The reality is that when you're renting, $1,700 are not building anything, right? But when you're spending $1,700 on a mortgage, a portion of that goes towards your principal. So you kind of, it's basically, it's not savings, but you're basically buying an equity, buying an asset. That's why I use the word buying an asset. Now, buying a house is a sacrifice, and it will always be a sacrifice. It can be as simple as just making the same payment as your rent. Because if it were, then everybody would be buying a house right now, right? And everybody will be a homeowner. So it typically is a sacrifice, and most of the time it ends up being a little bit more than what you pay in rent. Think about it what I tell people is think about it this way. If a portion of your mortgage payment is going to be interest. So think about that interest as you are paying a bank or a financial institution for the opportunity to build an asset, right? They're giving you the money to build that asset for you, that equity for you. So you're paying that interest as basically buying the opportunity to continue to save on that asset. When you put that payment towards that asset also is increasing in value over time. As long as that increase in value is higher than the interest that you're paying, and as long as that interest amount that you're paying every month makes sense, and you're able to make that payment, you're always going to win. Always on the win. So on the win side. So it's a different mentality. You can't just say, well, can I just pay the same amount of money I'm paying? Well, no, because you're just renting. Now you're going to buy a real asset. As long as you can make that monthly payment, buying a house is always a winning proposition. As long as you keep that asset for long enough. And everybody asks me, well, what does that mean, long enough? It means different things in different markets. In some markets, it could be as little as three years. You have built enough equity. In some markets, it might take a little longer. But what we do know based on historical data is that if you hold a real estate asset long enough, you're always going to have a return.
Yeah. And I think that's really true. I mean, what the real estate cycle used to be 10 to 12 years, right? And I think with the advent of technology, and we've talked about this a little bit before, it's shortened it, and I think it's shortened it to more of like an 8-year cycle where I think over 5 to 8 years, you're really going to be able to see a return on that investment. Right. As long as you're like up on your payments, people like don't skip a payment and think that you're not going to be penalized for it.
Yep.
you pay your bills on time, you make sure that your mortgage is paid and up and true. And, you know, when it comes down to it and you want to sell, more than likely you're going to be in a positive equity situation where you can sell, make quite a bit of profit after a certain amount of time. I mean, you know, and we always talk about, we play the game like we sell when it's high and we rent when it's low, right? So once you own this asset, if you know you're in a situation where you don't like the amount of money that you could potentially make off the sale of your home, just rent it out.
Just rent it out if it's
And
not the
make
right
that
time.
passive income and step up to the next house.
Yeah.
On your path of travel. You know, I
have
try to
a
tell, especially with first time home buyers,
Yeah.
I try to let them know that this isn't your forever home. This is your first home.
Correct.
You know, so let's just take it one step at a time and build a portfolio. That way you have something coming in and you're building up enough to where, you know, you can start seeing where generational wealth comes in there, and you can.
And life happens, right? Life happens. You can't make a plan buying a house for more than 3 to 5 years at a time. You just can't. Yeah, it's life changes all the time, and life throws things at you all the time. People get sick, or people get healthy. People get newer jobs. People have to move. They have new kids. We have a customer right now in the Sacramento area who bought a house with us about 2 years ago, and they thought that was their house. They had a 3-year-old girl at the time, and that was it. That was family for them, and they didn't have any plans of adding anybody else to the family. And a 2-bedroom home was absolutely wonderful and great, and in low payment, and they could have money to go to Disneyland and do other things with their young girl. Well, guess what? Wife is pregnant.
Yeah,
out of the blue. But they didn't plan for it. They didn't want it. They were happy with one child, and now they have a beautiful another girl, and they're like, 2 bedrooms is not going to be enough. This is too small of a house for us. What do? We can buy another house. And I go, well, what do you mean you can buy another house? Let's run the numbers. The challenge that we have in this current market is that because of what happened during COVID and the rates being in the low 2s and between 2 and 3%, all of us, or the majority of the people who were paying attention, we all refinanced. So we have an incredible low mortgage payment and fantastic rates. Those rates are not going to, I'm not going to say never, but like the chances of us going back to a 2 or 3% interest rate market are very slim, if not zero.
Yeah, so there would have to be like a catastrophic event again to.
Yeah. So here's the reality. You say, rent when it's low. Well, that's the reality, is that most people that want to sell their house and buy another house, they find themselves in a situation where the monthly payment right now is a 2 or 3% interest rate. And when they buy another house, it's going to be a 6% interest rate. So that's a tough pill to swallow, right? That's a jagged little pill, as our friend Alanis Morissette would say. What do you do in this case? Well, it's an option to rent out the current home, and you can use the income from that home in many cases. The different rules for this, conventional, FHA, et cetera, but you can, in principle, use that income to help you qualify for the next house. Right. So when we explained this to this customer of ours, he was like, wait a second. So that means that I got 2 assets now. I get to use the rent on one to pay for that asset, and I get to use my monthly payment to build another asset. And it's like just like his eyes were like so wide open. He's like, I need you to explain this to my wife and to my father-in-law, because this is awesome. Right. But that impacts buyers too, because you don't have, the reason why we don't have that much inventory right now is because people don't want to give away the assets, because they're building their equity, number one. And number two, the interest rates are so low. Why not keep it, right?
Well, the rental market is so hot right now too. I mean, it's insane to me what people are paying in rent. I remember when I first had my very first apartment. I was like 18. I think we were paying like $600 a month for this just a normal little apartment, you know. But
Yeah.
now I would hate to see what that thing's going for right now.
Oh gosh.
Jeez, that was back in the
Crazy. You
90s.
say Yuba City is about 16, 15, 1700s.
Yeah.
Sacramento is 2000. That's kind of the
Yeah.
norm. Bay Area is 3,000, 3,500. I
All
mean,
day.
if you want to if you want to rent a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom home, which is a large home, I know,
Yeah.
but that's easily $5,000 in the Bay Area. Even kind of traditional inexpensive markets like Stockton or Manteca or Tracy, those places are not cheap anymore.
No. And Yuba City used to be that, you know, cheap marketplace, right? Like it's not anymore. You're spending between 16 and 1,800 a month, and you know, you're not getting very much.
Well, think about it. It makes sense. It's very close by Sacramento.
Yeah.
It's North California without being North California, right? You
Right.
get access to everything. So it totally makes sense. Anything 2 or 3 hour distance from the Bay Area from Sacramento is gonna end up in those price points.
Well, and Yuba City's growing too. Uh, you know, Janelle and I do a bus tour with the mayor every year. It's just a fun thing they do for certain community members, that kind of people that are paying attention, that get selected for it. You know, we enjoy it, but they're talking about putting in just a ton of homes in South Yuba City over the next like 5 to 10 years. And, you know, that's going to drive prices up. That's going to keep rents going up. I don't want to say skyrocketing, but you know, it is what it is.
It's also going to have a positive economic impact. It's going to
Right.
bring, new stores, new grocery stores, new restaurants, new places to go hang out with your family.
Right.
So you don't have to drive to the city next door to,
Right.
to those entertainment or benefits and all those things. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's the engine of economic development. So to build those houses. So it'd be interesting to see how it impacts. But I do like my quaint little towns, but it gets to a point where progress, you can't really stop it.
Yeah. We don't have any control over it, so just kind of surf with it. But yeah, it'll be exciting to see, the people that I'm putting into homes right now in our area. It'll be exciting for me to see what they're worth and where their equity's at in 5 to 10 years, because I'm watching prices pretty steadily increase, and they haven't stopped doing that. There was a short time, probably 6 months ago, where prices were coming down, and I'm using the word normalized again, because we are back to a normalized market as far as COVID's gone, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that age is gone, and it's normalized.
Yeah, there's a big factor out of the way. Absolutely.
So we're no longer 130,000 overinflated in our area. It's kind of nice, but it's still expensive. It took its toll, and it'll keep climbing, is what I'm seeing, with more people coming, more houses being built. We're going to start seeing a little plateau, but those new home developers are going to want the premium. That's just going to drive prices back up.
Yeah, and I like that you explain it from your point of view, because you're an expert in your particular market, right? And so you see what's going on in your market.
Right.
Guess what? It's very similar across the nation, and every market is different. But if you think about what all the apocalyptic, negative thinking, like, oh my gosh, the market's going to crash. I have so many of those customers, by the way.
Yeah.
It'll be.
Yeah.
It's actually really funny to have these conversations with them sometimes, because they're just waiting for the market to crash. Yeah. And there's like, Rob, when is the market going to crash so I can buy my house? And I go like, you got to be waiting for a long time, my friend, because it's not crashing.
Yeah.
It's not crashing. And there is some adjustments that are happening, especially in some markets.
Right.
If you go back to pre-COVID, the market was already going hot for certain metropolitan areas, like that have been developing really fast.
Right.
Austin, Texas comes to mind. Anywhere around Phoenix, Tempe, Gilbert, Chandler area, we're talking about home prices doubling within a few years, right?
Right.
Really fast moving home values in the Bay Area as well. And there's so many places outside of the Bay Area that went through this, including some of the ones that I just mentioned, Manteca,
Right.
Tracy, an hour and a half away, Yuba City as well. So there's a lot of these places that went really fast in terms of value creation for homeowners. And now we're adjusting, right? And now there's an adjustment happening, and now there's prices of some homes are coming down a little bit, maybe by 5%, maybe 10% in some markets going down, but now stable,
right?
And as long as the economy doesn't go completely nuts, which so far it seems to be holding up, is not really healthy by any means. We still have work to do in the economy, but it's not going crazy nuts, right? So as long as that stays in place and our government doesn't, go crazy with the budget and starts printing money again, then we should have a normalized, stabilized environment where home prices will not crash or will not go down significantly.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the original question, when is the right time to buy? When you can, when you have the ability, when you have the numbers, when you have the finance, and again, that's a personal question, not a macro question.
No, I agree. Absolutely. Man, what else can we cover today?
Oh my gosh, we covered so much in 20 minutes. I thought you said you wanted to keep it short. So
well, hey, we appreciate you coming on today. I always love talking to you.
Likewise.
Stick around for a second.
Of course.
All right.
Thanks.
Man. Yep. See you.